Howdy, everybody. Welcome to Warp Chase Podcast. I'm Ryan Rex. I'm here today with the amazing David Medina of Sani Bronco. And if you don't know who that is, I'm going to let David here fill you in. David, what is Sani Bronco?
Oh, hey, first and foremost, thank you, Ryan, for doing this. Sani Bronco is my project. It's sort of a band solo project, I guess. Like I spearhead the whole thing, but I do have people that are like mainstays in the band. But yeah, we're an indie rock band from both Las Vegas, Nevada, and Philadelphia. So
Oh,
half of
wow.
us are in Vegas, and the other half are in Philly.
And just kind of like, Avengers Assemble when the show needs a band, your guys
Right,
are all
right.
there in the place. That's cool. Is that
Yeah.
having that dynamic, like, is it usually just like group chat messages like, hey, what do you think of this, what do you think of that, and then when you guys get together it's like you guys get a practice space or something to like.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of the group chat stuff. I'm like pretty organized when it comes to sending them files and stuff. So I'll send them, like, for instance, the drummer lives out there in Philly, and I'll send him the song without the drums on it so he can practice, like just have some headphones and like play the parts. So when we assemble, we really only need like 2, 3, 4 days of practice, maybe. But yeah, when I'm playing a show here in town in Vegas, I do have another set of people that play in the band. But for like those made like anything that we're hitting the road for, Avengers Assemble. you know.
Hey, nothing wrong with that, man. Sometimes, it'd be like, hey, this show's going to be happening in Vegas, you don't have to come all the way down here from Philadelphia, times are tough, money's hard, man. It's like
Right.
we're just all struggling musicians trying to make it. So I mean, it makes sense for like a home base show. You just be like, hey, we can get this done real quick and everybody's happy.
Yeah, yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. So, how did you like get into music? Because I feel like Sani Bronco is like kind of like a culmination of like, uh, I wouldn't say this is your first foray into music. I think I mean, just based on interviews I've done in the past with some guy named Sergio, I am aware that you've had
Yeah.
a helping hand in like guiding people to music. So kind of like give me background on that. Like, how did you get into music at all? Period.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. So uh Sergio Medina is my brother. He plays in Royal Coda, Idola. And growing up, our dad put us in music lessons, so we started taking guitar lessons. He was in 6th grade and I was in 3rd grade. Uh and basically what happened is we sort of started off at one level, and then obviously Sergio was older, so he grasped all the concepts a lot faster, and his ability was like um, he started getting it right away. So that's how I mean. Okay, so we started taking lessons. He kept going, and I quit taking guitar lessons because I was in 3rd grade, and I was like, "This is too hard. I want to just like not do this." So Sergio kept going with music, and around the time I was like 13, 14, Sergio was playing shows, and I was going to all the shows that Sergio was playing, but I wasn't. I had quit. I only took lessons for like maybe half a year or something like that. And so I started watching Sergio play all these shows, and soon enough, like the urge to play and to do what he was doing. So I went back, or in high school, I started taking lessons again. So like 10th or 11th grade, I started taking guitar lessons. And yeah, sort of like I was playing catch up the whole time, right? And I still kind of am. But really, it all started just from um, seeing my brother play shows, and seeing all the milestones he was hitting along the way. Like started off with your local shows, and then next thing you know, he was playing like we used to have this festival in Vegas called Extreme Thing, which is like it's like a Warp Tour sort of thing. And his band got like won the Battle of the Bands thing, and um got to play that festival. So I guess I'm rambling here, dude. I'm sorry. But yeah, just seeing the milestones really drove a fire in me. And so I would say, it's like obviously a combination of my favorite bands, but mainly seeing my brother play has been like how I got into music, and how it became so important to me. Sorry about that.
No,
Long.
you're not dude. That's what we call gold here, man. If you can just get in a flow
Okay.
train of thought, just talking about
Okay.
like yourself, that's great. That's good to me. But like, just because I've interviewed your brother, like, I recall because he had gotten into basically play for Chiodos live,
Yeah.
and he was given a set list of songs, and he was unaware because he wasn't a Chiodos fan, and he was just
Yeah.
kind of like, okay, I'll take this cake. He was given a list of songs, and they were all abbreviated, and he was like, "What is this?" So, if I recollect this correctly, he came to you, who
Yeah.
was in fact a fan of Chiodos, and was like,
Right.
"Do you know what this is? I can't figure this out. I'm supposed to learn these, and I don't know what songs these are." And
Yeah.
lo and behold, David Medina saved the day.
Yeah, that was huge. Like when I talk about milestones that I've seen him hit, um, because I was listening to Chiodas in seventh grade, and I was like playing it every single day. And so years later, for him to play in the band, it was like, what is going on? Like it feels surreal. You're like, life is wild, like w- back then you would have never imagined that something like that would happen. But yeah, I was like, I think I just sent him back a list. I was like, oh yeah, this is easy. It's all the hits too, the bangers.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that, and I think that would they call that FOMO, feeling of missing out, because you like
Yeah.
started with Sergio and you saw like you were there at the beginning of his path, and you see him hitting these milestones like Stolas get signed and all this other stuff, and it's just like it's cool because in an essence it kind of showed you that if you want to go do this stuff, just go out and do it,
Oh
and now here you are out here doing it, man.
yeah, I'm trying, but 100%. Like I often think to myself, like if I didn't have that example right in front of me of like having seen my brother go through all the steps, like I wouldn't believe in my own project the way that I do, if that makes sense. Like say I had no brother. Say I was like just making music with no sort of guidance or example of, oh, this is possible. I don't know if I don't know where I'd be. I guess like I don't know if I would pursue it as hard as I am now. But because I've seen him do it, and he's sort of held my hand through this whole process and still does. And um yeah, yeah, I don't know. It's incredible, and I'm super fortunate about that.
Hey man, family is important. I had managed to catch your Arizona show that you guys came through, and it was your birthday, and your family was there, and I think that
Yeah.
was like probably one of the most wholesome. Just everybody singing happy birthday, and you just to have your whole family there, and the family's so supportive too. Everyone just wants to see success, and if that's just playing music, that's what's up, man. It's always good to have that support system, and it's I think you have a very strong foundation for one.
Yeah, yeah, dude, for sure. I'm like all around just so fortunate of of my situation, and the having parents that support us the way that they do. Because you hear other people that maybe their parents don't want them to pursue music or arts or something, and they want them to go down a more traditional route. So for them to be have been as supportive as they have, like is for sure like they've they've helped myself and Sergio in ways that we wouldn't be where we are without, you know, their support and stuff. Yeah.
No, that's awesome, dude. It's always cool. Like your brother does a podcast with your mom, and that's such
Yeah.
a wholesome, great show too. And it's just like you guys have an infectious kind of just wholesomeness to y'all. And I was just like, it's been awesome to like kind of just witness how you guys are just very open about that support and just like even to see your mom like be in Idola's like advertisement or like tell her the title of the song and she's just like just
Yeah.
trying to comprehend the silliness of
Right.
band dudes. It's great. It's just awesome that you guys are all just like you're able to interlink it not only as a support, but you can get content out of
Yeah,
it.
yeah. No, you're right. It's great. I love that Sergio's down to do that stuff too. You know, like include my mom, and it's pretty great.
Moms make music happen. I think that's just one of those things. If you don't have mom, music ain't gonna happen.
Right.
So
Yeah.
very awesome of the Medina family. So you learn how to make music and you see your brother going with success. What got you to the point where you're like, I need like, is Sani Bronco something that you've been doing since like high school, or is this more like in the last 6 7 years? Because I remember seeing you play with Kurt Travis, Marionette, and Cat
Yeah.
Bamboo. That was
Yeah.
a great tour. I think that was the first time I met you. Good
Yeah.
stuff, dude. Like, and but yeah, what led to the creation of Sani Bronco? Like, what was like, oh, well, I need to have this band.
Yeah, yeah. So, basically, this is like the second musical project that I've ever done. Prior to this, I was in a band with some friends here in town. Uh, One of them I'm still working with today. Of my first band, we had a band called Spokes, like the wheel, the spokes on the wheel. Yeah, yeah. And I would say it was like um a bit heavier version of what I'm doing now. We were definitely like a little more like thrashing, throwing our guitars around and stuff. But yeah, once that stopped, I wanted to go more into like an alt indie rock, more palatable sort of project. So I just started writing all these songs alone, like started working in just in my room and stuff and learning how to use Logic as a recording software. And yeah, so this project is about about 6 or 7 years old, I guess. Although it feels brand new right now, like for me, it feels like brand new. But yeah, sorry, am I rambling again? I'm sort of yapping here.
Nah, you're good, man. You're talking about how Sani Bronco came to be.
Okay, yeah, yeah. So yeah, it came to be because I had left my first band. Because I was going to school at the time. I was in college and I felt like I couldn't juggle the two things. So I sort of, you know, told them, "Hey, like I need to focus on school." And so I left the band, but then a year or two later I still wanted to just keep making music, so I started making music alone in my room and stuff, and that's sort of how it started because I wanted to just find my way back into making music, and so I was like, well, like maybe I'll just try to write songs, and yeah, it sort of started as a solo project and sort of started morphing into a band because now it feels more like a band now that I have people that are writing music with me, not just like playing songs that I wrote. Like we're actually all like working together. So yeah, that's kind of the gist of how this project started.
Awesome, man. And then Adobe Rock was born.
Yeah, right. Yeah, 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 dude.
Yeah, I've read your Spotify bio.
Oh, hell yeah. So yeah, this
That's
is
what.
uh sorry, go ahead.
No, I believe. Yeah, I was just reading through your Spotify bio, and it's just it's good stuff, man. So with the creation of that, how do you go about because you get these shows and you got to get the people from Philadelphia all the way down there. So it's just like when you're planning these shows, how like far ahead do you usually have to hit up your homies to be like, hey, like, Andrew Wells is going on tour, dude. We gotta go.
Right. No, yeah. Well, for the tours, like, kind of know a couple months ahead of in advance. Like there's a lot of time to plan that stuff. Um, so yeah, I hit them up. They know about like a month or two, or no, even more, like 4 or 5 months, in advance. But like, we played the show in California with Stolas. It was their
Oh
10
yeah,
year anniversary,
I was
and
there.
yeah, yeah, and they
The
came out
Troubadour, dude. That was a great
right.
show. That was sick.
Even though that was just a one-off show, like it wasn't a tour, I still they still flew out because it was a special show. I was like, uh, Avengers Assemble. But
I mean,
yeah,
it is the Troubadour is a legendary venue, man. It's been around for ages, and it's just like not only that, but your brother, 10 years for fucking Stolas, and it's just like that was a cool night because like all the homies were there, dude. Like everybody was just like it was good. It was good vibes and great set. Everybody, I think everyone was like really solid that night, and it's just kind of like a bummer where it's like Stolas, please come back.
yeah, no, it was really special watching them play, and even more special that we got to play. I'm like, it's like those moments like that where I think like, man, he didn't have to ask us to play, or like, because it also is like it has to be agreed on by everybody, like, and for my brother to really push and be like, um, hey dude, like I want to play the show, but my brother's got to play. It's pretty special. But yeah, going back to your question about flying them out and stuff. Yeah, they know a good amount ahead of time, and yeah, I usually try to cover all the flights and stuff. They're coming out to play and stuff, and maybe missing work, so I'm like, I cover all their flights and stuff.
Make it worth their while, just to play a legendary venue and play Stella. I
Right.
think I think like I don't think anyone has an issue, and I think everybody can agree with on it because the common rumor around David Medina and the scene is he's probably one of the nicest guys out there, dude. You're cool as heck, man. Like you're such a friendly, just outwardly just pleasant person. You give off good vibes, and I think that's just good family upbringing right there.
Oh, dude. Well, thank you, man. And I try to just present myself how I really am. Like I try to like just have I don't know. I guess I'm just so appreciative of like anybody that's ever given me the time of day or to listen to what I'm doing and stuff. So I'm just like, dude, I don't know. It just pours out of me to like, like uh be grateful and appreciative of everybody.
I think you took that lesson as a child, like treat others how you want to be treated, to heart. And I think you awesome. You're just an awesome guy, dude. You've always been really cool towards me. And I appreciate it. So I guess moving on from that to my next question would be like, with Sani Bronco, what are influences? Like, what's the kind of stuff that you listen to kind of get into that mindset, or stuff artists you've listened to growing up that are just like, that's what I wanted.
Dude, yeah. I Obviously, I've gone through, you know, all these different phases of like really heavy music and then really like chill music. Just yesterday I was listening to At the Drive-In, Relationships in Command, and um that record was huge for me when growing up, and listening to it yesterday was the first time I listened to it in a really long time, and I was like, dude, I think that stuff is still embedded in me. Like the energy, like the want to like scream and like just yeah, thrash and stuff.
I mean, anyone that is seen at the drive-in, like it doesn't even matter if you didn't see them like in person live. If you've watched video, they're one of the few rare bands that's just so kinetic and just like
Yeah,
the music takes over, and it's just like I am I can say that I've been on stage and I've done noodle legs. You know, you want to just
yeah, yeah,
throw the microphone stand. It's just they were just so cool live that anybody that likes post-hardcore music or just that
right.
intensity in your rock and roll, it's just they had it all, and it was so good. And it doesn't matter if it's live or just a video, you could feel it.
Yeah, no, definitely. Gee, I will hot take. I think at the drive-in is better than the Mars Volta. I but
Eh,
no,
I get it. I get it. I mean, I feel like because at the drive-in, I love them to death, but they're so one of like they're kind of like the one of them hipster bands where it's just like post-hardcore. No, we're not. We didn't make that. That was that. That's us. That's only us. And
yeah,
now it's going to become all artistic, and it's just going to become very obscure and like bizarre for the sake of being bizarre. And it's I like the energy that at the drive-in had, but I can appreciate the art that they go with the Mars Volta. But I would be probably in the same camp where at the drive-in you can't beat Arc Arsenal. You can't Pattern
yeah,
Against User, dude. Like that song comes on, everybody's singing. It's so good.
yeah, no, yeah, and it's just I think it's also preference. I think the more technical guitar players and stuff will prefer Mars Volta, and the more like feel energy driven people might like myself, I guess, like be more inclined about at the drive-in. But yeah, no, like I growing up, it was Chiodos, it was Devil Wears Prada, it was like at the drive-in, and then slowly started finding stuff like I used to listen to a lot of Harvard, the band Harvard. Um
HRVRD.
right, yeah,
Yeah,
and
great
then
band. That band's sick.
dude, yeah. So that was like, that was for me, I think that was high school, maybe. And then From Indian Lakes was big for me. Touche Amore, and La Dispute and stuff like that. It's funny how my brother and I have for sure always had different influences. But yeah, and then so I feel like a lot of people always sort of assume that maybe because I'm his brother, that I'm in the same category of music. But the reality is, I think we're influenced by uh, totally different stuff. Just to name more is like Title Fight and Bright Eyes is probably my biggest influence of all time. Uh, and I think that is sort of what I'm going for. It's like a Bright Eyes Matt Title Fight meets Bright Eyes.
With like a pinch of Desaparecidos, like it just that I love that
Oh
project.
yeah, dude, I would listen to anything Connor Overs really. Like,
Oh
but
man, that guy can make sadness fun. Just like the calendar hung itself is such like a
dude,
festively. It's so festive yet it's so dark.
yeah, dude, that early stuff is crazy. I can't believe that he was 17 years old writing that record. Like, dude, I listen to that. Yeah, my girlfriend hears about it all the time. I'll we'll be listening to Bright Eyes in the car. And I'm like, I'll pause it and rewind the line. I'm like, did you hear that line? Like, how crazy, you know? Like, dude's a genius from an early age, just writing
I,
insane lyrics.
I think at 17 I think you're at your most angsty. So I think that was probably the best time for him to be writing those kind of songs.
Yeah, but going back to your question about influences, it Bright Eyes is, especially that early stuff, folk punk is what they kind of dubbed it, folk punk. And I kind of like that today for myself, like I like um that, you know, distorted acoustic guitars sort of tone and stuff. So yeah, I mean all sorts of influences and stuff, but I'll ramble for days about
I,
I'll go
I
off.
mean, it's it's a Sani Bronco interview, man. I'm pretty sure you're supposed to ramble for days about yourself and your influences. That's why we're here. I
Okay.
don't be shy.
Yeah, just catch me and reel me back in if I'm
if
freaking
if you
going
start if you start talking about your grocery list, I think I might have to stop you. But if you're talking music on a music podcast, I think I'm supposed to let you just keep going, man.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I mean, just about anything, From I listen to like rap and hip hop too. That's pretty big for me. And so yeah, I'm trying to make this mash of just all the stuff that I ever liked happen on one record.
Of course.
Yeah.
And I am to assume, you grew up in the '90s. You probably listened to rap far too young, like myself. Certain rap, you weren't
Yeah.
listening to the '80s like hip hop. Don't
All
stop.
right.
I'm pretty sure gangster rap and all that other stuff was prevalent.
Yeah, yeah. To be fair, I got into it a little later in my life, actually. Like, yeah, I don't know, but I know what you're talking about. I actually now have gone back and listened to the '80s stuff, like, what's that band called? Low String Theory. It's freaking. How am I forgetting? Five Dog. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, I gotta look this up here. Do
Do
people,
it. Do it. If you need to look it up. I like if I were to say something, I don't want to I don't want to look like Boo Boo the Fool and you don't either. So
dude, how am I not?
I think that's the unfortunate thing nowadays. Like memory retention is hard because we have this little block in our hand that tells us everything when we need it. We're like, what was that?
Yeah,
I'll just shoot three lyrics and I'm like, oh, that's what that was.
yeah. I couldn't find it, but it'll pop up in my head. I'm like, but yeah, no, I've gone. I
Hey,
mean,
if you're watching this at home, leave a comment. Tell us what David's talking about.
well, if people know who Five Dog is, they'll like figure it out.
We'll have the answer in the comment section below. Everyone, rush there, pause the video, come back. We'll be here waiting for you.
Right.
But now, you just you released a single within the last year, but you have a new one coming out now. So, I did have someone reach out to ask a question. Will the new music kind of like keep the sound that you had on your last single, or are you going to be like evolving or changing or?
Well, I for sure think that this is a drastic evolution um, from the first record. I feel like it is closer to the singles for sure. It's a more like, um, yeah, it is closer to the singles. I feel like the last big release, the One Stop Everything Repair Shop, um, was like the first iteration, and then the singles are like the bridge to this newer stuff, which I feel is different. Yeah.
To circle back on what we were saying, they would be like kind of the evolution of just writing songs with yourself and then kind of collaborating with a band to kind of create that band sound.
Right. Yeah. No, they were huge on a huge part of that
Of
was
course.
involving other people. I feel like when you write music alone, it could be good because you're honing in on your own voice, and it's a really concentrated um sort of like sound. But involving other people can sort of like help you when you write stuff that isn't that good, and they're like, nah, dude, change that, or like, let's do something else. It's like, man, I'm glad you're here because I would have just ran with an idea that was not that good or something.
It's great when you have other artists because it's kind of like you have your own strengths and sometimes their strengths kind of boost up what you're doing at a good level, and they
Yeah,
can hide your weaknesses because it's kind of just like, well,
right.
you're doing it like this when you should do it like this, and you'll get more space and more room, and it's just like, oh wow, I didn't think to look at it that way because I was too busy honing in on what I'm good at.
Right, no, for sure. Yeah. But yeah, so someone had asked about whether it was gonna sound more like the last single
They were asking if the new single is going to have like a deviation in the sound from One Stop Repair Shop.
Yeah, for sure. I think so. I mean, songwriting wise, but also production wise, which, I don't know if most people can, I feel like musicians are more inclined to, like hear the difference in production. But yeah, it's different for sure. And I'm happy. I'm really happy with it. Sometimes you, as an artist, I guess you listen back to your old stuff and you're like, it's not that good. Yeah, yeah. Like I
You
am like,
cringe. You're like,
right.
oh, what was I doing?
I know. For me, that's what that is very real. Like I'll listen to the older stuff, and it's a learning curve. And so sometimes I listen to it. I'm like, yeah, this song's not that bad. Like there's something there. But I'm like, time to get serious. Let's bring out.
Lock it in, man. Lock it
Right,
in.
right. Yeah.
No, I feel that. I'm gonna go look up at because that person had a second part to their question. I'm gonna look that
Yeah,
up real quick.
sure.
David Medina, give us a.
Sorry, what was that? I think the microphone got cut off there.
I'm the worst. I was just
Oh, you're good.
saying.
You're good.
I said give us a recipe or something while I look up this comment real quick.
Okay, let's see. I'll try to think of something cool. Um, let's see here. I can do this. Dude, I'm sorry. I got nothing. Here, I'll bring the pups out.
This is gold, by the way.
Dog blue right here. He
How
doesn't
long have you had your puppy?
like I think 4 or 5 years now. He doesn't like getting picked up like this. But
He has opinions. I love dogs with opinions. They're just like, you know what? I'm not about this. All
right,
right.
right.
So I did get the other parts of that question. There was actually two more parts.
Oh,
But
okay.
second part of their question, this is from Tasha Davis. Um, she
Oh, yeah.
asked she asked, will you be touring the East Coast soon?
Um, I trying to make that happen right now. It's kind of looking promising a little bit, but nothing's confirmed until nothing's confirmed as of yet. But I am trying to do something on the East Coast this year for sure, and I think it will happen. I'm pretty sure that it's tipping towards that. Um, but yeah, I'm I have some like my friends in Philly, right? They're the guys that play with in Sani Bronco. They also have their own project, and one of them is called Goings. Um, like I'm going to the store, but Goings, and we've been trying to do something together for a long time. So it looks like maybe that might be happening, where Sonny Bronco and Goings um, do a little East Coast run, but nothing's confirmed yet. But we're trying.
They're in the process. They're when the goings get tough, the tough get goings. The tour is gonna go
Yeah,
one day. It's
but
it's in the works. It's a want. It's a possibility. It just needs to be worked out.
yeah, yeah. But we'll see for sure. I'm
Never say never.
yeah, trying to make that happen. And for anybody listening, they're a phenomenal band, and I think everybody should check them out. I'm like super eager to try to do something with them, just because
Hell yeah.
been listening to them for a while, and I think they're dope, and I think they should be heard by more people.
Get a split EP going. Get
Right.
The Sani
Some
Bronco fans and the Going fans. Get them together.
right,
Chop
yeah,
it up.
for sure, yeah. I would be so down for that.
Hell yeah. Now for the third and final question in their tirade of questions. Uh, how did you get into rug making?
Dude, yeah,
Deep
um,
cut.
right, yeah. So, dude, believe it or not, I started doing that because uh I was, scrolling through TikTok and started getting videos of people making those rugs, and obviously I'm like, that looks kind of cool, And I noticed like a couple of those people have like a huge following. Um, from people want to see the rugs, and I thought to myself, like, at the time, I was trying to find ways to promote my music and market my music, or get people to care about it. So, but I'm also not really the type to put myself out there. I mean, I'm trying now to kind of you know be in front of the camera more and talk more and stuff like that. But at the time, I was like, yeah, no, I can't do any of that. So what can I do to promote my music? Well, I was like, what if I start making these rugs, which get a lot of views for some people, and put my music underneath the videos so that people are watching for the rug making, but they're also consuming the music. So I thought it was worth a shot, and I was like, dude, what if I this could be it, I'm like, this could be the reason people listen, you know. And I mean, I don't know if it's worked at all, but I have learned how to make the rugs, and that's fun in its own. It's like I have a lot of fun making them. But that
I
was the
think
oh,
I
sorry.
was gonna say, I think that's brilliant marketing right there, dude. I mean, most people are just like, I'm gonna copy this TikTok trend and hope for the best. Like you learned a skill and a trade. Like, come on now, like give yourself some credit here.
Well, dude, I mean, it hasn't shown much like success, if you want to call it that, but it is cool to just have learned how to do it anyways. But but yeah, that was the main reason why I even started, because I was so, like, I want people to listen, I want people to pay attention to the music, and I need to figure out a way to do that. So that's how I got into it. I was like, this could be it, yeah. We'll
Nothing
see.
wrong with having a hobby and turning and like kind of like mixing it with your side hustle, man. There ain't nothing wrong with that at all. Like I
Right.
feel like that's more admirable than like I'm gonna steal this meme from a page and tag
Yeah.
my band in the fucking comments. Come on, man, listen to me. Like you're putting together a rug. Like have you now? How many rugs have you put together?
Dude, but I think now it's gotta have been like at least like 30, maybe, over like I started October of 2022. So we're in 2024. So this October will be 2 years. Um so about like 30 or so, I would say, somewhere 35. Um
Now, are these rugs available for purchase? Because I mean, like the rug audience needs to know, man. You're reaching out to the rug audience, and are these merch found at your booth at the show or?
oh man. That would be pretty cool. That'd be a great idea. Most of them are people that DM me and they say, "Hey, how much will you, or how much do you charge for a rug?" And I always say the same thing. I'm always like, "Well, it depends on the design and it depends on the size." Because I could see a design, if it's like real simple, I'll quote somebody a lot cheaper. If it's a complicated design that I feel like it's going to take me a lot a lot of effort and it's going to be challenging, I'll I'll quote accordingly. So most of them are are commissioned. So when people I posted some yesterday, and people hit me up and said, "How much for that rug?" I'm like, "Oh, it's already somebody, there's already an owner for it." But yeah, so to answer your question, if they're available, I'm always down to um make some commissions. But yeah, I think I should probably just make some and put them up on on a website or something. I've talked to Sergio about. I'm like, dude, you should let me. I was like, you should let me make a big like Royal Coda rug or like a big Idola rug, and you guys can, you know, do some kind of giveaway or something. So maybe I don't know, somewhere down the line, we'll start
So
making merch.
you're you're revolutionizing the rug market, dude. You're bringing music and rugs together. I don't think there's anyone else out there trying to like do that, and I think that's ingenious. It's awesome. It's awesome because it's just like who else is doing that? Who would else would be the rug master other than David Medina?
Dude, you know what? I have heard that the guy from the Fall of Troy, the bassist of that band, makes rugs as well.
Oh, what?
Yeah, somebody told me that.
It's time to collab, dude. The
Right,
ultimate
yeah.
rug collab.
Yeah, no, someone said, "Hey, and forgive me that I'm forgetting his name, but they said, yeah, the bassist makes rugs too." I'm like, dude, hell yeah, it's a fun hobby, and
You as a expert rug maker yourself, you're just like, I get it. I too understand the love of rug.
yeah. I mean, you let me know whenever you want one. I got you for sure. I'm gonna tell you that I 1,000% enjoy it way more when I'm making it as a gift than
Mhm.
for a commission like
You're
money.
putting that love in every stitch. You're just
Yeah, well,
like,
truth be told, I feel like it's more gratifying for me. I know that sounds cheesy or whatever, or it's just because I'll be honest. Sometimes when I'm making a commission rug and I charge a certain price for it, as I'm 8 hours in or 10 hours in, because it's like a whole 3 4 day process. I'm like, dude, I did not charge enough for this. This is like a lot. I find myself in that situation all the time where I'm like, this is a lot more work. I mean, it equates to like maybe like $6 an hour when you start to like
yeah.
uh, do it. But
You do the math and you're just like, I did girl math all wrong.
you're right. But when I'm making it for like a gift or something, I'm like, oh, they're gonna love this. Like this is tight. And it's a lot more gratifying for me, and I'm not worried about. I'm not thinking about the money when I'm making it just to give to somebody.
Your heart's in it, I think.
Yeah,
Big shout out to Tasha Davis, man. She gave
yeah.
us the ultimate rug discussion, man. I don't think I've ever talked about rugs in an interview before, but I think this is awesome because it's like
Yeah.
everybody likes carpet, man.
I mean, they're really cool. I'll often like make some for myself too. Like
Yeah.
I have this.
You wouldn't happen to have like you made that.
Yeah, this Pikachu one, and he's got the boxing gloves
Dude,
here.
that is sick as hell.
But
My
yeah,
guitarist in my band would love that.
dude, I also made one. I mean, it's kind of an exclusive right now. If you want to
We're
get
about to
into
see the deep dark
it.
dives of the carpet industry, man. Are you gonna show us a secret?
Yeah, so yeah, I can. Here, I'll explain first. So, um, for some of the songs that we're gonna put out, there's artwork for each one of the songs, right? Specific artwork. For one of the songs, I was like, hey, for a music video idea, I was like, what if I make a rug of the artwork and just make the music video the whole process of me doing that. So I did just that. It'll be out when it's out, but I'll show you the rug. Um,
Dude, that's sick.
so this is what we're looking at here. Let's see.
Dude, that is so sick.
Let's see if I can get this. The colors
Wow.
aren't really coming across on the camera here, but
I still think that is a visually impressive feat, man. Like that's awesome. It's like a playing card and it's a bug. I'm
Right,
like
right.
I'm
So
with it.
yeah, no,
How long did that take you to do?
uh, this is like maybe like maybe 8 hours over the course of like 3 days or something like that.
That's
So
what's
like
up, dude.
maybe 3 hours one day and then 2 hours the next day. But yeah,
Yeah.
this is for a song we have called Bugs Casino.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
and yeah, like you said, it's a playing card with the beetle on it. But
That's what's up.
but yeah, no, I mean, I'm kind of going off here, but
No,
uh,
please do, dude. I can't tell you. I really have never had a discussion about rugs that was interesting before. I don't think I've ever. I think maybe I saw a Pokemon rug once, and I was just
yeah,
like, "That's pretty cool." But I'm at like Ross or something. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. No, yeah.
you
But
found a way to blend music and rugs. I think that deserves a pat on the back, man. That's pretty sick.
I don't want to give myself like too much credit here, but this is all
The
this
rug.
stuff is, I do it basically just out of like feel like maybe I'm limited in resources sometimes. So I'm like, why don't I do this? Because I don't have the money to make a music video or like, expensive production. I'm like, well, I could just do something like this where I'll make a rug of the artwork and that's the music video, right? Right? Like I just like film the whole process, and so I'm
I
excited
think
to put that one out.
I think people don't like, some people just don't realize that limitations sometimes breed more creativity because it's just kind of like, all right, so I don't have a couple thousand, like, I don't have 10 grand to drop on a highly produced music video that's going to be edited by next month. Rug.
Right, right, right. I love that. Dude. Omar Rodriguez Lopez once said something similar to that about like wanting to minimize his pedal board, like because the being more limited forces him to be more creative. Like the less pedals I have, the more I'm forced to actually write something more interesting. So yeah, I hear you there. I vibe with that for sure.
And I think we kind of like, when you have too many options, I feel like, and just about any setting, you can kind of like, lose track of everything else or kind of like focus and funnel in on the one avenue, even though you have all these tools. But when you don't have all the tools, you kind of make those few tools that you have, you got to make them count a little bit more.
Right, right. No, definitely.
I'm
Um,
with it. I'm about it. So I guess I should ask you, what is something that you've been listening to lately? Like, do you have certain music that you listen to on the go, or is there like another buddy band like goings out there that you just want to shout out, give a
right.
you know get some eyes on them?
Well, dude, honestly, there is this band that I listen to, um, and I wouldn't. I'm friends with the drummer of the band, but I don't really talk to the other guys in that band that much. But they're really good. I think they're awesome. They're called King of Heck,
Ooh,
um, like King of Hell, but King of
yeah,
Heck.
yeah.
Right, right, right. They're really dope. They make some pretty interesting stuff, and like they just put out a record in February, and so that's been on the recent playlist, but they're really dope. I listened to my friend's band, Sweet Pill. They're pretty good. Have you heard of them? Yeah, they're
I, I
dope.
I believe they're in your awesome Spotify bio.
Yeah, yeah, right, right. Yeah. Uh, that's something I've been in. They put out some new music recently that I've been listening to. And yeah, I just been on that Neil Young Neil Young stuff, now that he's back on Spotify, his stuff was like taken off for a while and like they just put his catalog back up. So I've been listening.
Wasn't he like protesting that Joe Rogan was on the?
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna take my music off Spotify, but then they realize like, hey, we're missing out on some money here, so we're gonna.
He's just like I think they also expanded like Joe Rogan's podcast is now on multiple platforms, and his statement was something along the lines of like, "What am I supposed to do? Take my music off all these platforms? Like,
Right, right.
I'm in a losing battle here, and you guys deserve my music." And I believe Neil Young does have some great songs, so it's just kind of like maybe just leave your stances aside and just let people enjoy your music, man.
Dude, it's funny when that whole stuff was happening. There was an Onion article, I think, or one of those like Hard Times or whatever that was like, Yoko Ono threatens to put music on Spotify because of the protest, and my dad thought that was so funny.
I think that's one of like I think that's just a hilarious trope when people just
Right.
when they use those like just the hard times and just the onion type articles. It's just like I think I've read something like that, like Machine Gun Kelly threatens to release new music. Like it's just
Right, right.
it's a weird dichotomy because like there's a certain level of fame or just notoriety you can get in the scene to where people where you're just like kind of like trapped where it's just kind of funny when misfortune befalls you.
Right, right. Yeah, no, I totally hear you. Some of them are pretty good. Some of I would say they got just as many misses as they do hits, those like satire stuff, But,
For
yeah,
sure. But let's see. What about I feel like, we get to this point in the interview. I feel like I have to ask like more like random questions. Like
sure, yeah.
what's your favorite movie, man?
Dude, favorite movie, I always say it's Meet the Robinsons. Have you ever seen that movie? It's the Disney movie.
I have a big head and little arms.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I love that movie. It's like I don't know if everybody has this experience. I'm sure everybody does. Like growing up when before streaming, when there was cable television and you're just like scrolling, there's always those movies that like when you landed on a channel, no matter where the movie was, no matter what point you started watching it, you have to like finish watching it till the end. That was one of those movies for me when I was growing up where like when it was on, it just like I just always finished it. I've probably seen it like 10 times, but yeah, it's probably one of my favorites there. Can I ask you what is your favorite movie?
Sheesh. I mean, where do we go with this, man? I mean, do we talk about like artistic direction or comedy? I'm just kidding. I mean, if I had to pick a movie that like if I had, your similar circumstances of a movie I've seen a shit ton and it was back, when cable was a thing and when you only had like a VHS, so all you could do is hit rewind in case you didn't have cable. I'd say that would probably be Kung Pao Enter the Fist. I've seen that movie
Dude, no way.
godly amounts of time. I can like it's one of those movies you put on, you just start talking with it like
Yeah,
verbatim.
yeah. No, but when you're right, you're like, well, which direction do you go in? Because yeah, I also have favorite movies that are like horror movies. Like I'm like really big on like
I'm a big fan of the Evil Dead franchise. I
oh
love
nice.
I love
Yeah.
Ash. I love horror movie. Yeah, I'd have to say like I think Evil Dead 2 is probably the best because Evil
Yeah.
Dead 1 is kind of like it is a straightforward horror movie, but a little low rent. And I think with the second one they kind of they used that to their advantage, and they were able to inject some slapstick comedy into it and just be really gory and freaky and cool and just something I probably shouldn't have been watching at like 10 years old, but
Yeah. Gee, I actually, truth be told, I haven't seen any of those, so I'll probably end up watching them because I love horror, so I'm like,
I will give you this nugget of information because Evil Dead to me because like Sam Raimi, Bruce Campbell,
right,
they made the Spider-Man movies. Bruce Campbell always had a cameo. but I feel like Evil Dead movies are very important, especially for artists and creative types, because it kind of shows you. Because the first Evil Dead was just made like on 10 grand, and it was just a bunch of kids in the woods filming in a cabin, and it kind of just shows you that with guts and determination and that can-do attitude, that feeling of missing out, you keep going and you can do it. I mean, they were able to film that movie, and it kind of just like if you look up behind the scenes stuff, like the way they would film stuff, like they didn't have like a camera rig. They would put like the camera on like a 2x4 and run around in the forest so the camera wasn't jumping around. It kind of like gives you like, like the guerrilla filmmaking kind of like aspect, the kind of like touring musicians who kind of have to rig stuff, duct tape it all together just to make sure it runs.
Dude, I'm big on that. That's like what fuels me, that those sort of like having the context of that stuff. Like,
Oh
uh,
yeah. Evil Dead franchise is definitely huge on that. If you get the DVDs, like you can find them at Walmart. They're like $10, like $5, something like that. They've been around forever. There's a million re-releases of them. Like I have all three movies on my wall over there. I'm like looking at them right now.
yeah,
But yeah, like I love behind the scene feature stuff, and that series is rich with it. And just to see like the where it splinters off, because like I mean, I'm sure you've seen '80s horror movies, right? Yeah,
sure.
the people that do like all the like practical effects, like I love practical effects, like Tom Savini, he worked on that. Friday the 13th, Wes Craven's Nightmare on Elm Street, like all these movies were connected by similar like production people behind the scenes, and it's really cool, and I love stuff like that. And if I can have like behind the scenes featurette documentary type stuff, like if I can gift that to you, Evil Dead franchise definitely has that.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna put that on my list to watch it for sure. And
Hell yeah,
but
dude.
dude, you said something, or yeah, like watching all the behind the scenes stuff. That is like gold to anybody that's like doing anything artistically, right? Like watching the process of like, and it can be any sort of medium, like a, a movie, or how an album was made, or how how they did certain things. It's like, dude, that is fuel. And then adding the thing of like, oh, and they only had like $10,000 to make this. Like, yeah, I don't know. That stuff is super great, and I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that.
No, I think I get where you're going, because it's just like you get that spark, and it's just kind of
Yeah,
like wow, just to know that there's people out there with very little making use of those little confines, the restrictions. They try to make it as big and as creative, and it's just like I think for like someone like Sam Raimi, he would have inspired people like Edgar Wright, who did like the Shaun of the Dead movies and stuff like that, with like lots of like quick camera cuts to try to like
right.
high end, high fashion movies that are big budgets. They have like a million camera cuts, and it's just like just to see someone get creative with like Dutch angles and stuff like that. That's like candy to me. So it's just like I think I love seeing people be creative, and just the whole creative process. It doesn't matter if it's music, movie, writing books, or whatever. I'm there with you.
Have you seen either Rosemary's Baby or The Omen from
I saw like the remake of The Omen, which wasn't as good, but I think Rosemary's that's like a Polanski film, isn't it?
yeah, yeah.
Oh
Those two
yeah, yeah, yeah.
are like
That's like
freaking.
old school. That was like one of the OG, like just kind of like freak you out, man. Like that was some '60s stuff right there.
Oh yeah, yeah. And it's still freaky to this day, because one, like where you mentioned, all the effects are practical,
Yeah.
so in a
What you're
way,
seeing is something that they did on camera to trick
yeah,
you with like a magic trick.
yeah. But also, it's like I think they were still figuring out how to make horror, so they were
Yeah.
like really tapping into like some psychological fear, and it's like
Oh yeah.
here it's like some abnormal, or what would you call it, like
Thriller.
well, like it's like poltergeist sort of like vibe, but it's still,
Supernatural kind
yeah,
of.
supernatural is what it's I'm sort of looking for it, but it more than anything, it messes with your psyche,
Yeah.
but those two movies visually too. I mean, like the composition for of every frame, you could take every frame from that movie, and it's a beautiful photograph, like
Oh yeah.
positionally and everything. I've taken a bunch of stuff from those two movies and applied them to like some new music videos that we were working on, like just stuff like there's like a in The Omen, there's a scene where it's like a montage of the kid growing up with his family. So the kid or the parents, um, if I'm remembering correctly, they adopt the kid and or something along those lines. And the montage is like freeze frame shots. So he's
Yeah.
like, it's not a video, it's photographs of him like at a birthday party and then them walking him at a park and like he's growing up in this
Yeah.
montage. I'm like, dude, that's genius. Just like
The
flashing.
transitions. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what's up. And
And
that's always cool. That's probably one of the wisest things that anybody, like, if you're a musician at home, when
yeah,
you're watching stuff, like, I think this was advice like Triple H from like WWE would say, like, whenever he's watching something, it doesn't matter if it's a movie or if he's listening to an album, he's like, how do I apply this to my trade? Like,
right,
how do I
right,
look at this and try to process it through my filter to try to benefit myself? And
sure,
it's just like, it's always good to have that, because you look at other, other creators, other mediums of like for inspiration, because it's like you can't just like at the drive-in and watch at the drive-in music videos and you're just like, I'm just gonna copy all that, and then people are just like, bro, you're just a copycat.
right, yeah,
But if
dude,
you pull from tons of different things, people are like, he's inspiring.
yeah, 100%. And I totally, I totally do that myself. Like anything that I'm watching, I'm like, I'm big on movies because of that. Like I'll be watching a movie from whatever, whatever time, whatever decade, and maybe a character in that movie will say a line, like a phrase or something, and I'm like, "That's really cool. I like how that sounded." And I'll go in my notes app and write down whatever phrase, and maybe morph it a little bit to apply to like a song. But I'm constantly doing that. Like I'll be listening to a podcast even, and everybody speaks in different ways. Everybody's got their own like words that they put together, and I'll hear someone say something cool, and I'll be like, "That's awesome." Like I was watching. I like UFC.
Yeah.
And yeah, they show this thing before the fight, like a preview, right? And where they show both fighters in their hometown or whatever. And one of the fighters was jogging, right? Like he was jogging up a mountain and the camera's like following him and he turns to the camera and he goes, running on mountain time, baby, or something like that. It's like Colorado. I was like, that's pretty cool. So I stuff like that, I wrote it down and I used it in a song. Like there's this song I'm like running on mountain time, like and, but yeah,
Gotta find that inspiration
I do
everywhere.
that. I do that like all the time, constantly. And I encourage everybody to do that. You're watching a movie or something and something catches your attention, take a picture of it, take a video of it. And yeah, I do that. I have just random stuff in my camera roll that like 3 years ago I'll watch it. I'm like, why do I have this? Like, and it's funny because at some point I was maybe watching something and I like thought something was cool. I filmed it, but maybe didn't write a note going like, uh, I like how this was done. So I'll get the clip and I'll be like, what was the context behind why did I film this? So it's also good to like make a note or something, right? Yeah.
Yeah, because sometimes inspiration won't hit you twice. You can watch something 6 months down the line, and you're like, "What? I don't." what did I find inspired? I don't get this.
Right, yeah, yeah. It's
Because
almost like
certain things hit you at certain times in a different way. You can hear something that was the most inspiring thing ever, and then a week later you read it and you're like, "The heck is pork toast?"
right, yeah. It's almost like a little bit of magic, right? It like kind of
Yeah.
like flies by you, and if you don't like capture it, then you could
Lightning in a bottle. Sometimes you gotta just sit there and work with it. Like I think that if I ever get lyrical inspiration, I write until my brain's just like no more. Just
yeah,
don't like just keep going. If you have that spark of creativity, just work through it. And sometimes when you don't have that, I always tell people like people are like, oh, I got writer's block or something like that. I'd always tell people just work through it. Just write everything that sucks. Just get it all out of your system. Just write
yeah,
everything that sucks. Just get it out because it's stuck in you, and sometimes you need to work that shit out. And
yeah.
then when you look at it like 6 weeks later, you'll be like, pork toast is cool.
Yeah, yeah, dude, and it also um you figure out what works for you too. It just depends on like how I'm sure everybody has like a similar way that they write lyrics or something if we're talking about that, but just refining how you what works best for you, right?
Yeah,
Like um like I'll often start off writing vocals or lyrics by just mumbling over the instrumental, like just like yeah, it just sound is coming out but no words, and I'll
it's the
record it.
that's the Paul McCartney method of singing. You
Right,
just
yeah, yeah,
you just
yeah,
cadence sing
yeah,
over it, and you just like that's that. I remember watching a Beatles interview. That's just like it's what Paul McCartney does. He's just like
yeah,
you just start mumbling shit, and then eventually you're like
right,
fucking you get there. Like it doesn't have to make sense in the writing process. At the end of the day, make it make sense to you.
yeah, sure, yeah, definitely, and a lot. I'm sure the whole world does that too, but yeah,
I
for
think that's called Modin Green or Grin, something like that. When if you're singing a song but you don't know the lyrics and you're just kind of making up lyrics, it's like misheard lyric kind of thing.
yeah, yeah, and finding words that fit like a certain sort of sound that's coming out, maybe like it's has like a K sound and you're trying to find words that maybe have that. But for me, yeah, it sometimes even takes like even once the words are placed, like it might morph even more. I'll substitute words out. It sometimes can take a while for me to be happy with like uh the lyrics of a song, can
Oh, I
go
get
through.
that. I get that, man. Sometimes you just be like, why am I writing about pork toast?
Right, it's
For
for
example, you know what I'm saying? For an
what
instance, we're not revealing the next single by Sani Bronco, Pork Toast, quite yet. But you do have a new single coming out. Did
yeah,
you want to tell people what that's called, where they can find it?
sure, yeah, yeah. This new single's called Wild Best Friend. It's out March 22nd. So depending on, when the interview comes out, it most likely we're today's Wednesday. Song comes out Friday. So if you're hearing this, it's probably out, and it's gonna be everywhere. YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal. Um, I gotta remember to put it on SoundCloud and Bandcamp because I know that some people prefer using that. But yeah, it's called Wild Best
That's it's casting them nets, man. You gotta
Friend.
if someone wants to find it, it's there for them. Everyone absorbs music in their own ways.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And sometimes I'll get a notification from Bandcamp that someone like purchased a song, or I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. That's awesome. Like,
Where can people find awesome shirts like this on your Bandcamp?
dude, I'm gonna put those up. Actually, I still have a box of them. Yeah, I have a box of what was left over from the Andrew tour. Um,
Mhm.
so I think I'm gonna probably pair.
It's a limited collection right now.
Yeah,
This is
yeah, yeah.
tour only merch, so keep wanting people you're watching. Maybe he'll put them up soon. You never know.
Yeah, no, I probably will. I think it ties into the whole dog theme that the song is kind of it's like a it's not, the song's lyrics are kind of like from the perspective of a dog. It kind of jumps back and forth, the perspective of the human owner of the dog. Like it kind of like blends and stuff, but yeah, yeah,
It's a concept song where you
yeah,
see
yeah,
through the eyes of a dog and its owner, and I think that's awesome. I remember I believe you played this song live
yeah.
when you yeah, because it was just like this song's about a dog.
You know what's so cool? I love like I love that a couple people have brought that up to me. Like, hey, you played a song last night. Like when we were on that tour, I would get messages. You played a song last night that was about dogs. Like, which one is that one on your Spotify? I'm like, oh, well, it's not out yet, but it is really cool that people were able to digest the lyrics and the song in a live setting. Because sometimes for me, it takes like a couple times listening over to a song, I'm like, oh, this song's about this. Like this song, they're talking about this. But for someone to grasp it at first listen is pretty awesome for me. Like I think that is pretty cool.
Dogs are in, dude. Dogs are always in. I think people there's a lot of dog owners out there that like they just they need like just like rugs, dude. You're kind of cornering the market. Dogs and rugs. Look at that.
They're in,
That's genius. Look, dogs love rugs, dude. Come on now.
right? Well, yeah, dude, I have two dogs myself, and I'm just like, yeah, I don't know where that song came from. Uh, I didn't set out to do that. Like I didn't set out to like, oh, I'm gonna write a song about dogs. I think it just truth be told about that song, I actually um uh, you know people want to know a little lore or whatever. Uh, we were set to go record. Uh, we had booked studio time for this date, right? And 10 days prior to going into the studio, I just woke up one day and wrote the entire song front front to back. Uh, so that's what, Wild Best Friend, you listen. I just want to mention that just because it is kind of a big achievement, a personal milestone for myself to be like, dude, I was under pressure to oh, dude, I gotta write a good song. Like we're gonna go record in 10 days. Like I gotta write another song. And that's what came out. And
Yeah,
I
you put pressure on Cole, you get a diamond, man.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And yeah, that was pretty cool for me because I was like, wow, like it was it was a personal milestone for me that I'm like, I listened to it. I'm like, dude, I can't believe this came out like all in one day. Like, because usually, a song can take me months to write. It's certain songs like come together over the course of months, and for this one to come out in an entire day, and I'm talking like guitar, bass, and the lyrics all in one day. Like, I woke
That's
up at
what's up.
like 7 in the morning and was done by like 3 or 4 p.m. And
That's what's up, dude.
sorry,
It's
I know,
coming. It
dude,
came together. No, I want
dude,
lore, man. Don't apologize for giving me lore.
I'm not trying to blow smoke up my own ass here. Like, I'm not. I'm really not. I think it's just something.
I
I
think if you believe in your own music, I think that's completely fine, David.
to me, it's just I feel like I like want to share these things. I want to be like, yeah, dude, this song, like, like, and the reason why is because we had like, I mean, we had a whole track listing on the record was coming together, and the song that I had at this track number two, right? Uh, I was like, this doesn't really feel like a track number two. It feels like this, like the vibe of that song that I had initially. I'm like, this one feels like it would be later in the record, and so I'm like, maybe I can try to write something, and that feels more like a track too, and that's kind of what happened. Wild Best Friend was born, and try,
That's what's up, and it releases Friday.
yeah,
And I'm gonna do my best to get this out tomorrow.
yeah, no, no
'Cause,
rush though,
oh
it,
no, I think the people need to know about this rug business you got going on over here, man. I think people need to know, and it's only just uploading a video. It's not that much.
yeah, I hear you. Well,
I don't think there is any heavy editing. I don't think I need to like omit like anything from this interview because you're wholesome as hell, dude. You're just wholesome as heck, I should say. But
uh, dude,
no, this has been great, dude. Was there anything else you wanted to cover?
s- dude, well, I just want to say thank you, and
Of course.
but I guess I wanted to ask you, like, how a couple things, if that's cool.
Hey, yeah, I don't get interviewed very often, but I am always willing to be interviewed.
I want to ask you, like, did it did it take you some time to like get comfortable, like, like doing this long format conversation? Like, was do you feel like there was a kind of a point where you started, like, for someone that wants to or is considering doing it, what would you tell them, that like it took a
Well,
couple times?
my experiences, let's see, I took drama in high school. I've been in plays when I was like in elementary school. I think in fifth grade I was like Tales
Yeah,
from Wayside High or something like that. But
that's
stage acting, I took a intro to improv at the Groundlings Theater. There's been cool people like Elvira and Will Ferrell that have gone there. I used to do like YouTube skits, like back when like YouTube, like 2009 stuff, like try to like, do stuff like that. I had a real bad tendency to like look into the camera, which is something that Shirley Temple used to do.
yeah,
So, but that's like acting and stuff. I feel like that helped give me like grounds for it. And like, I was in bands in high school and stuff like that. I'm 35 now. I'm old. So I'm kind
yeah,
of like over that whole, I'm nervous and all that. Like, do I get nervous? Yeah, sure. Compared now to when I first started doing podcasts, which was like in 2019 with the Demo Team podcast.
yeah,
If you listen back to all that old stuff, I'm still kind of just the same loudmouth, uh, nonsensical guy. But I've never really thought too much about it. I've always kind of been just kind of like flow of thought person that just kind of goes with the flow. And
yeah.
have I had interviews where it's kind of difficult to get somebody to talk to me? Yeah, I've been there, and those interviews are always awkward. But as far as I would go to give advice to people is to just not think too much about it because, you
Yeah.
know, sometimes I do interview people that are really cool and that I admire. Like I've interviewed Thomas Eric, I interviewed your brother. It's like
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
like that. Sometimes you think about like the accomplishments they've done, those plateaus, those things, those awesome stuff that they've done, and I get a little nervous, but I think I get more nervous going up on stage and trying to remember all the lyrics and not going up there and just like pantomiming bullshit. But I think the best thing I can tell anybody that wants to do something like this, just do it and just keep doing it. And if you suck, you're only gonna suck a little while until you look at yourself and be like, how do I suck and how do I not suck?
Oh, dude, that's great. That's great advice, and I'm trying to take that myself, because I feel like I'm asking partially to see, like, I'm trying to be a little less nervous on camera and a little less nervous talking and stuff. Well,
I get it.
the other thing I want to ask is, was there an episode that you did that right away in that moment, um, or right after you finished it, you knew, like, that was a good interview, like whoever you were interviewing gave you a good conversation?
I've I've had a couple of those where it was just like, yeah, just hit it off and stuff
Yeah,
like that. but I think like it's also the reason why I still want to do podcasts. I interviewed Jordan Blake. He was the original singer of a Skylit Drive, and he, I've interviewed plenty of musicians. Obviously sometimes the music world isn't kind to people, and they suffer hardships and stuff like that. And I feel like with that interview and just the impact it had on his personal relationship with his girlfriend at the time, and the kind of like reignition of recognition that the music he did actually did mean something to somebody.
Yeah.
And it kind of just felt like after that interview, in just like we formed a friendship and stuff like that. And it's a little emotional for me because he passed away last year around you know April, May. But that interview, to me, it just kind of like, it felt like it meant more than just like two dudes talking about music, because it kind of was like I could recognize that this person has lived a really hard life, and just the fact that they could talk about all these cool tours they did with bands like Alisana, Drop Dead Gorgeous, Devil Wears Prada, all this stuff. And it seemed like it had been a while since they thought about themselves, like, oh, like this shit means something.
Right.
And yeah, I think I think episode 1 of this podcast, Warp Taste podcast, I talk about that. And it's just kind of like, it's cool that just talking to somebody could give them hope, kind of just to like believe in themselves again. And for me, I think that's awesome. If I could meet somebody else, if I can just giving somebody that idea that, like, it's music. Yeah, it's bullshit. It's just silly polls, it's memes or whatever. It's just like sometimes people just need that little escape, just that little exit from reality to where they can just talk about some obscure micro niche thing that, they may have experienced when they're like 15. And for that to mean something is, I don't know, it makes me feel good. And if I can make someone else feel good, either that it's by listening, or if I'm talking to somebody who's, you know, forgotten that, they used to mean something a little bit more, but I don't know. I feel like now I'm rambling.
No, dude, I really, that's really fucking cool. And I asked because I want to watch. Oh, you know, is there anywhere I could like listen to that? Is it on your channel?
Yeah, the Jordan Blake interviews are on the Demo Team podcast. I believe they're on Spotify, Google, stuff like that. Uh, it's through Anchor, but yeah, the Demo Team podcast has tons of stuff, tons of stuff. Other than the Jordan Blake interview, I'm a big fan of the Thomas Eric interview. The interview we did with Kurt Travis is really cool. Um, I've interviewed Andrew twice, like once for this podcast, once for the Demo Team podcast. Those are great.
Yeah.
Um, I think if I had personal favorites, stuff that I like, Eric Victorino, he was in Strata and the Limousines. That's like one of my like favorite interviews. I've interviewed him twice, once for this podcast, once for the other. That guy is just so full of like wisdom and just awesome nuggets. Like he said, like, I think one of my favorite things, I've quoted this so many times, and I'm sure if anyone's ever listened to my bullshit long enough, have heard me say this before. But he was talking about like the importance, like it doesn't really matter if you can play like a super intricate guitar lead, because it would be, if as long as it services the song, it's good. Because it's like, well, would it be more impressive if I shoved an apple up my ass and sang this really high note because I have an apple up my ass because I did something really hard? Like, is
Yeah.
that note more impressive of that? Or is it because, are you just worried about that one part instead of the song? I don't know why, but that information to me always just stuck around. I thought it was hilarious that somebody would say that.
Pretty good, yeah. And that was who you said?
Eric Victorino, he was in Strata and he was in the Limousines. He's written a couple books. He's an awesome musician, man. I believe I saw him play with Sonny Moore and what's Team Sleep, Chino Moreno's side project.
Wow.
And yeah, they were like the opening band. It's like 2007. And this was before Sonny Moore became Skrillex. He was trying to do that solo stuff, and it was cool, and it was awesome that I met him back then. And then I was able to, like, in 2019, like I think in 2000 this year, I think like 4 or 5 months ago, I interviewed him again. That's a good interview. I've interviewed Aaron Rothy of Drop Dead Gorgeous twice. He's awesome. As you can tell, like if I really like these people, I would try to bring them back for a second interview.
Yeah.
And I've interviewed Derek Bloom of From First to Last. That guy is awesome. He's so like I think you two would get along because you're like salt of the earth, kind, nice, wholesome people. Like there's not many not many super awesome, nice, kind people out there, but I've had the fortune of meeting a bunch of them, and they sometimes happen to be in some of my favorite bands.
Dude, From First to Last was I that was a band for me in middle school that was like,
Did
yeah.
you see that they dropped a 20-year anniversary for Dear Diary, and they have the old From First to Last ribcage shirt?
No,
It
I did not see that.
it was it's that dang Twitter, man. They're only on they're only on
Yeah,
X, as I should.
right,
They only
right.
do updates and stuff like that. I try to share it on Facebook, but unfortunately, I feel like From First to Last is one of those bands that just doesn't get the proper respect in 2024 that they should get.
No, dude, they were definitely like a staple of that whole scene, dude.
Oh
Like
yeah, without
I
a
had
doubt. Like how they're not playing when were young. Like it's been like 3 years. It's like come on, like that was the band. That was
that.
everybody wanted to look like Sonny Moore, dude.
You know what's funny is that uh I had a friends that lived across the street from me in middle school. They were twins. They're Nick and Parker, and they
Hmm.
were the ones that opened the door to all those bands for me. Like they introduced me to Chiodos and the Devil Wears Prada, and From First to Last was their like favorite out of all those bands in the scene. I remember they had like 10 different From First to Last t-shirts like every day. And yeah, like you said, they don't get enough recognition. I'm like, for them to be their favorite band at the time, that was like they were, you know, kind of one that didn't get the
Yeah.
recognition.
I always find that weird too, because like you said, they had like 10 different shirts.
Yeah,
I remember being back in these times. I remember owning 10 different From First to Last shirts. I remember they were like on alt press. They were everywhere at one point, and then
yeah,
they weren't.
yeah. Who knows? It's yeah, it's
It's a
kind of.
weird world.
Did you ever listen to a band called From Autumn to Ashes?
Oh yeah. Dude, I used to walk home from school and there was this car that was always parked down the street from my house. It was like a racing Nissan or something. It was all black.
Yeah.
But on their back window they had the decal that said From Autumn to Ashes. And every day I'd walk home from school and I'm like, what is that? And then when I started getting into my emo post-hardcore phase, I
Yeah.
was like, oh, I know what that is now. This
Yeah.
guy, I'm walking home every day from school, and
Yeah.
then it's like someone was advertising to me, like, listen to this. And then it took like a couple years later, and I'm just like listening to it. I'm like, oh, that's a band? I thought that guy just like Autumn.
That's really good. That to me was like that was a big, really big band for me growing up. That was like the first. I remember being super young. That was the first song. It was called Cherry, I think, from Autumn Tassis. Cherry. It was the first song I ever listened to that had screaming on it. And I remember my friend showed me like I was in the car, headphones, and was like, "Listen to this." And I just could not comprehend what I was like. I was like, the screams were like, yeah, right, right. And it was like one of those moments that was like, whoa, like this
There's a
is
monster in my ear. What's going on?
right, dude. And you want to know this pretty wild thing that happened to me? You know, when you were talking about um sorry, was it is it Jordan Blake or James or
Jordan. Yeah, you're right.
Jordan? When you're talking about Jordan, and and kind of reminded me about this. Well, when we were recording this record, that will, you know, I don't know if I should even be talking about the record, but whatever, it doesn't matter. Uh, I was staying at the studio. I was living there for 30 days. Like I just they had like an area where the bands can like live, and a lot of times during after we were done recording. uh the engineer there, Frank, is like, yeah, I have somebody coming in to like track something. And one of the nights that I was there, this band from Long Island, New York, where the studio is, um, this local band from there was coming in, and he's like, "Yeah, this band wants me to track vocals, a guest vocal spot for one of their songs." And come to find out, it's the guy from Autumn to Ashes. Like, yeah, dude. And I'm like, you can't. This isn't real right now. For me, it was like just like such a weird moment to be like, this was a band that introduced me to like so much, and like, and you just don't, you just cannot imagine that in middle school, right? Where you're listening to this music and think like one day you're gonna be like recording at a studio and this guy will come in and just, and he's tracking the screams, like he's tracking the vocals, and I'm like, that's really him. Like I could hear like his voice, you know, like I could like recognize it. And it was uh and then afterwards, yeah, I was trying to be a fly on the wall. I wasn't trying to. I even told him, "Hey, dude, I'm just gonna sit on the couch if that's cool. Like, I won't like." Uh, um, I told Frank, the engineer, the engineer that was working at the studio, I was like, "Yeah, dude, if you want to just hang out in the hallway, you can. I don't mind." And but afterwards, I had to talk to him. You know, like when they were all done, we were outside, and yeah, it was one of those moments where I was telling somebody how much what they did meant to me, and it was really wild, you know, not, you know, not to put his business out there or anything, but he was telling us that had gone through hard times, you know, like some stuff. And yeah, it was wild because you're just like, damn, this person that did so much for me, you know, I get to like tell them that now. It was pretty wild. Like I was bringing up all the songs. I was like, telling him, yeah, this song, so he could like recognize that I was pretty invested in his music and stuff. And but yeah, it's just a random story. And it's just wild how a lot of the people we grew up listening to don't, you know.
I I don't think anyone can prepare themselves to hear like, hey, what you do matters, you know? And I think a lot of those bands that come from like that era, like way back when and all that, you
Mm,
know, they had to deal with predatory labels. They had to deal with just like everybody from the top to the bottom finding a way to cut them out. And, you know, it's an unfortunate thing that a lot of these people that mean so much just from writing music to just performing live or just like kind of setting you on that path that you know I want to do this. And it's one of those things. It's like a sharp realization that you know it's kind of like what you see it in Hollywood, you see it in music, you kind of see it in every little aspect of life that you know sometimes there are people out there that don't have your best interest in mind. And for those people that do great things and like inspire people and to be able to give them that moment where you're just like you matter, you're important, thank you for doing just being you and going out there and doing that. I feel like what you're saying, I had to tell him because it's just like
uh,
one of those things where you feel like you have to because I think you like me are aware that not everybody's kind out there. And you know I think artists are one of those people that should feel valued because unfortunate monetarily wise artists don't get that value.
right, yeah. No, and it's just, you know, uh it's like, wow, this person, you know, did all that they did to express themselves as a person, and we were lucky enough to be able to consume that, and so it's like, dude, thanks for doing that, you know, thank you for, you know, I don't know.
It just kind of creates that thing where you're like you become retrospective and you're like where would I be like what would I be doing if I wasn't in my room listening to this like 16 hours a day while doodling in a notebook or playing video games or whatever? Like, where would I be if I didn't have this music to kind of like create my taste or just kind of like dictate like this is what good music sounds like?
Dude, that was for sure. That was like thinking about it now, it's still like it was like a crazy moment. Like, what are the fucking odds, that I'm, you know, in New York and this guy just happens to come in for this sort of situation. For me, it was like, oftentimes we're all like the main character of our movie, right? We're all like trying to like it felt like one of those moments and I'm like, wow, like you said, we're I'm here partially because of the music that you made. And here we are years later, and it is kind of in a, I, you know, like I said, yeah, it was cool, but also, sad a little bit because you're like, man, I wish this person was like, you know,
Fairly treated.
right, yeah, right, yeah, and
It's
and,
like they
and
did so much for me and helped me get to where I'm at and avoid problems or help me when I was in hard times. To hear, because it's common a story, unfortunately, just because music itself is just so full of obstacles. Not
yeah,
only do you have artists, and labels and all this other stuff. There's the heroes of the road. There's all these weird and horrible things that can happen to people. You get addicted, or you just run into a bad luck, or you sign a piece of paper that basically says that you don't own that band. That's not your band. You don't get paid for that. And it's just like, it's unfortunate. It really is. And it's kind of weird navigating in a modern world where DIY has so much more presence where you don't kind of have to go through like the pratfalls and stuff. And I think that's a contributing factor to old school musicians who kind of like paved the way. They kind of like, in an essence, become a learning lesson for people like maybe don't do that.
right, yeah, yeah, for sure.
Crazy, man. It's crazy. And I can't think of where I would be without like a lot of music. And unfortunately, you work with musicians, you interview them, you learn a lot, and you see that like life isn't always greener on the other side, and everyone has their own issues, and everyone's just trying to make it. And I think pandemic did that for a lot of people, where everybody kind of realizes, it's we're all kind of on the same level in some aspects.
Yeah, yeah, it is really sad reality. It's really sad because what can you really ask for um as a musician or creative? um if, the money, I don't know. What I'm trying to say is it's wild that even the people that make a cultural impact on a scene, depending on whatever genre that you're in, whatever scene that you're in, people can make a huge impact and be a major player and still end up on the other side like struggling. It's kind of like financially, and you're kind of like the trade-off is, well, you got to live that, you got to, like, if you ask me, like, or you get to do all this stuff, but you're at the end of it, you're gonna be still struggling financially. Would you do it? It's kind of like, what? Damn, that's like, of course we're going to, because we love the music and we love. It's just kind of a bummer, because I don't know. It's you hear stories all the time. Like, you know, I heard of a guy in a band that I really like, and a friend was like, it was like, whatever happened to that guy? He's like, the last time I saw, he was looking for jobs on Facebook. Like, was like, hey, does anybody know anybody hiring or something? And this is like a major player, And I'm like, what the fuck, dude? Uh, like,
You think that by I don't know, like what do you do to like fix that? It's like you make like a music union, a musicians union, or something like that, just to make sure like people that if you make a certain impact or you raise a certain amount of funds for a label or something like this, where you just take care of them. unfortunately, it's just one of those things where even people that do like great stuff for our nation and the army or the our veterans and stuff like that, even those people aren't taken care of, and it's a sad bleak reality that we live in, that unfortunately it makes it so we need awesome music that kind of like helps us get through the day. And I think the fact that we have that music, I think, unfortunately, even though Spotify ain't paying people right, as long as we have that music, I think that's like the only silver lining to it is the music itself.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It's like make it in spite of all the
I think
trials.
that's what makes music so beautiful, though, is the tragedy and just the drama that life gives us. I think that
Mm.
for if you don't have those sadness, that darkness, the light doesn't feel so bright. It makes you appreciate those things a little bit more, I think.
Yeah, and you look at it like, wow, the amount of stuff that needed to come together for this piece of music to happen, and it's like, yeah, it happened, and poof, it's gone. The band's no longer together, and but that's still there. It's like a moment in time. Like that's yeah, that is probably the coolest thing about the whole thing is you essentially capture like a moment in time. Not to sound all cheesy or anything, but it's like you know,
Suspended time. This is emotion just from this one moment in time, and it feels like this. Press play.
right? Yeah,
Hell yeah, dude. So,
yeah.
one more again. Friday got a new single coming out. Are you stoked about it? Are you feeling it, dude?
I'm ready, man. I'm like so fired up, dude. I something inside is like, been holding on to this for like 2 years. I'm ready to get
Pretty
this.
much, yeah. Because it's like you're playing something. You got people asking you like, "Where's this dog song, man?" I don't think. I think it's not since the Baja Men have people been clamoring for a song about dogs.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so that'll be out March 22nd, and shortly after, plan to put some more stuff out too.
What was the track name one more time for our listening audience?
Called Wild Best Friend.
Wild Best Friend, Sani Bronco. You can find it on all the streaming sites.
Yeah.
So I think that pretty much does it for us today. Unless there's anything else you want to talk about, you
Yeah, just
feeling?
thank you for your time
Of
and
course, dude. I appreciate it, and thanks for asking me questions. Not very often do people like turn the interview question on me. I always appreciate that. I think that creates a great dynamic, and I think that just it led to another like 20-30 minute tangent. So I think that's always a success in my eyes.
dude, yeah, man. Thank you so much. And if we're ever in your area and we're playing a show that
I'll come
let
through, dude.
I mean your band should play too.
Shit, man. I'm in Arizona. My band's in California. We're kind of just online right now. I'm trying to make a new band, like just for something to do while I'm in Arizona, because I live out here for now. It's just too expensive because I originally lived in California,
Right,
but
right.
California is expensive.
Yeah.
I got that low battery warning. It's telling me get out of
Yeah,
here.
sorry, I don't want to keep
No,
you.
you're good, dude. Like I'm gonna. I think that wraps us up. If you could just tell people how to find you on social media, like what your at is, and then
Yeah,
how
yeah.
people can. That way, we get people following you, man. They need to know
Yeah.
about these rugs.
So it's at Sunny. That's SANI period Bronco. Like
There
the
you go.
yeah. So Sunny Bronco. There's a period in between Sunny and Bronco.
And that's you're on Instagram. You're on Facebook. Are you anywhere else?
TikTok, dude. I'm really trying to stay on there and do some numbers on there.
Hell yeah, dude. Go watch him make a rug on TikTok. I think you're in for a treat. But I'm Ryan Rex. This has been Warp Chase Podcast. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you, David, and everybody. Have a great day.
Take it easy, Ren. See ya.
Awesome.